everyone! Welcome to another Outlaw Dive podcast. With us this week, we have more guests and a very special returning one. Introduce yourselves.
No.
In any particular order?
Alright, well, I'll just start us off. Hey, everybody, your boy Russ is back
he said
in
he's
the
gonna
podcast.
be trying to make an effort to show up more. So that'll be great.
Hello, I'm Black Letters Jr. It's been like a hot minute since I've been on this podcast. Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes, we have.
And
we
we
have
also
our
get
two
two other
regulars.
people with us.
The Mr. Claylex of Clayman Regard and some Twitter fame.
And I'm Unstable Reactor. I'm the guy that makes Mechanomaki and all the other things.
Yeah. We just throw him in the dungeon and he makes things work for us a lot of the time.
He's the one that keeps making all the Dunkaroos for us. My favorite.
Mm-hmm.
To use a Gurren Lagannism,
I
I'm the
thought I
method
asked
to their
for Korean.
madness.
He's the one that makes all of our Dunkachinos happen. I can't edit Dunkachino means for shit. He saved my life. He made a Dunkachino machine.
Shout out to my pal Art Cujo, who was showing us
I
a
am-
Dunkachino edit of that thing. Fucking slays me every time.
Oh, Jesus.
There's a lot of inside jokes I'm missing out on.
My favorite of all the Dunkachinos is simply the Gianni one.
I'm about to say something
Dude, Gianni
controversial
could
on the
Duke 'em,
internet.
Nuke 'em, and
That's
Turn
about
my
it.
notifications off. Huh?
You don't.
No, I love the dude.
Let me guess, you don't like Gianni.
No, I was just doing the Duke Nukem voice.
No.
There's that
No,
meme
I
where
thought
Duke
Brock
Nukem's
was
like,
the
I'm
Duke
going to
Nukem
say
voice,
something inappropriate on the internet.
Oh, okay, sorry.
my notifications off.
I'm going to post something very inappropriate on the internet.
Alright.
My ass has been burning
Alright,
for the past 3 days.
This week, this podcast, we actually have some news regarding the Outlaw Dive and all that.
That's
It's going to probably be a little bit late, depending on when this episode's posted, but still
Yeah.
it's news regardless.
So
So it's mainly
so
me
I can-
discussing all the news.
Take it away then, boss
Alright.
man.
Okay, so first off, this is where I'm going to have to apologize big time to everybody who is been very excited for the project. First off, before I say that, that's not me saying that this project is over or anything like that. That's not my plans. But what I am saying is I am very much sorry in how things have been handled for the first half of the year. Mainly in the fact that it's just, we've been promising things that are going to be happening. We've been promising movement and all that stuff. It hasn't happened. That's mainly because of me. And this is just something I've realized with a lot of other projects that I have been working on that I have failed to give it 100% my all. There's a lot of people that compliment or are questioning my ability to manage. I am sad to say, and that I'm not the best at managing as a lot of people might think, or they probably do think, right, and they probably think I'm stuck at management, which I do. But there's just been a lot of management issues this year with a lot of other things, but in the dive specifically, I've realized I feel bad because like what this whole project was meant to be was it was supposed to be like an alternative to webtoons into past. That was originally my idea. But the more I look at this, it doesn't seem feasible like I was originally hoping. And maybe that's just me being too ambitious and stuff, and it probably is, but looking at the whole project as a whole, I've realized that the Outlaw Dive, the current scope with all the people that we have, it's a very limited staff here with the team. And the people that we have, it's just feasibly where we are right now, financially and group-wise. We're not going to be able to make this like a big hosting site. But I'm still wanting to work to make this a promotional thing and a place to gather and network for webcomic creators, because I still think something like that is needed and it's 100% important, given where webcomics are as a whole right now. Like you see with the big two in regular mainstream comics, they're in a very tricky place. And not to many people know of all the indie comics that are going on there right now. And then you got Webtoons into Pass, like on the webcomics version of the big two. They're doing successful, but the problem is the successful comics there aren't necessarily for everyone. It's just basically a bunch of easy stuff that can fit into the algorithm and that
My
caters to
stepmom
the
has an
weekly or
eggplant?
very quick update style.
Way to ruin the moment.
Oh yeah, that's just dumb shit like that, and like Jungle Juice, like there's a bunch of and that's not me trying to critique or say that all the series that Webtoons are to pass are horrible. That's not the case at all. Like for example, Cedric, What a Hero,
Oh yeah.
has The Witch's Throne, which is an absolutely fantastic
Fantastic.
series. It's fantastic, and there's tons of other good series as well. Like there's this brand new series I'm reading on Webtoons right now. I forgot what its name is about, but it's like this girl in Paranormal Monsters. I really
Oh
like the art.
yeah.
Here it is, Eveline and the Occult. Like that's a really nice one. That's a brand new one, like one of the originals. But the problem is like what I specifically like, which is very niche in itself, is very sort of Imayashi sort of art. That's the best way to describe it. Things that are like relating to Trigger, Gynax, Getter Robo's example, very
Yeah, we're
hot-blooded
fucking
sort
nerds
of
for that
works.
kind
And
of
people
shit
can see
here.
that in my style. That's a very yeah, everybody here for the most part is very much nerds for that. But what we're trying to do here with this project has been working to promote very similar minded comics in terms of passion and hot bloodedness and action. And hot bloodedness is a term that some people are kind of confused on. The best way I could describe it is it's the same thing as passion, but it's very dynamic, very brash, very unapologetic, bold. It's raw, very raw, put it very bluntly, very raw. But anyway, the project's not over. That's the last thing on my mind is to end the Outlaw Die project. But it is currently being rearranged heavily in order to make sure that we can keep this project going and have the focus be on a couple of things. Like I said, promotion and also networking. The networking part comes through the Discord server, and maybe with the site, if I can understand how to make it work, maybe a forum, but I don't want to make that promise. I've made way too many promises on things I can't control. I've gotten way too over my head, and I've realized I've made that happen a lot this year. I've made way too many promises that I'm over my head in this year. I don't want to keep doing that. I don't want to disappoint people anymore. Even though people have been
It
surprisingly
just
gracious
doesn't
about
work.
it, it doesn't work anymore. It's not going to fly. It's not going to cut it. Yeah, and so what I want to do is I want to make sure that I can make things feasible and realistic as possible, but still find a way to make this a great promotional area and a great networking area. And that's where the Discord comes in. It's still active. We're not going to change anything about it currently. We have the way it's organized for a reason so people can find other comics, so people can find art, get critiques, and all that kind of stuff. But we are hoping to get this Discord more active, promote it more, and get more people to engage and make this a community. Because I want this to be a community. I want this to be a great, fun community. That was my original goal. It started off great this year, but then it faltered off. Again, my fault on that. But anyway, here are some of the other changes that we're going to be working on. The magazine is one of the focuses. It's probably going to be the main thing that we're going to do to especially help promote things. So every month, what I'm going to try to do, and I'm working on finishing up the magazine that was supposed to come out last month, this month. There's been other issues that have happened, like technical issues and then health issues that have happened, but this month it should come out. But basically, the Outlaw Dive magazine is going to be a digitally
Hey.
distributed magazine that's going to be posted on the official website and maybe even a newsletter sort of fashion if I can understand how to work that. But definitely will be on the website, and it will be a monthly basis sort of deal where we will accept comics and we will accept webcomics to be previewed, to be fully uploaded onto the magazine. Every magazine will have an update with, the two dynamic characters themselves, Bonnie and Clyde, and they'll begin each episode off on their little adventures and stuff, and then we'll get on to the rest of the main comics. There is a change that I'm going to be doing that originally I was going to do,
Okay.
but I'm going to save it to actually be on the site so that way it makes more sense. which is things like articles. Originally, I was wanting to put articles in the magazine, but given how long it takes, in my opinion, to make a proper, true article, I would rather it be a website thing only instead of trying to force it into a magazine that probably wouldn't have enough space, and more people come to a comic magazine for the comics. So we may just keep interviews in there, though, because I still want to do interviews, because I think that'll be a great thing. But I think for the magazine itself, well, I want to keep it comics as possible, and ads themselves, too, relate to other comics. It's a big promotional machine, essentially. And I will definitely say this. The Dive Approved is still going to be a thing, and it's going to be a huge thing as well with this magazine as well. That's what I can say for right now. Another thing that's going to be working on with the magazine itself is it's going to, besides just magazine, there will also be promotional stuff that will happen on the main site itself, mainly through me and other curators. Where we will be starting to recommend other webcomics that we enjoy, that we like. It's not even going to be a weekly thing. If we find it, we'll make a daily thing. We'll do whatever. We're going to post whenever about this kind of stuff. This way, we're going to work on making the curator thing another important part of this. This has been something that we've been working on doing, especially with the Dive Approved process, because that's been one of the biggest selling points of the Dive Approved, of the Outlaw Dive, is a way to help heavily promote and have a face, in a sense, of the site. So we're going to be working to make sure that the Dive Approved still works and find a better place for the curators and working to promote smaller comics and things like that. Now, I can't necessarily describe how the whole process is going to be, but I know for a fact that what I'm going to start doing very soon with the Outlaw Dives, I'm going to be finding new webcomics and stuff and promoting them, looking into the Discord server itself and promoting webcomics that are part of the community as well. And it's going to be a big old post usually. From me, this is what I'm saying by myself. I'm not promising whatever Reactor's going to do or whatever Delta's going to do or Black Letters Jr. is going to do. They're going to do their own thing. And we'll talk to them about that. But I'm telling you what I'm going to do because I want to make sure people understand, as the host and as the creator of all this, what I'm going to do. Last but not least, because I actually got to get going because I got to pick up my little sister here in a second. But the mascots are another thing. And the mascots are another thing that will be going to happen is can't speak. So the mascots themselves, we're still going to have Bonnie and Clyde. They are a very dynamic duo, and I made them specifically for the dive, and people really do love them. And I know there hasn't been a whole lot with them, but there's going to be more characters added, and the next character added is going to be Warden Ox. And you haven't seen him here. If you're in the Discord, you'll be able to see him and stuff. But he is another character that I want to add and be part of the whole thing. He's definitely going to be a fun character, and he's going to have a bunch of grunts and stuff. There might be other Warden characters as well, but I want to actually start having some mini-story with Bonnie and Clyde to make them
Warden
more enjoyable.
Ox,
So you'll be
that's a
seeing
big
that at
boy.
the beginning of each magazine update. One last thing, and that is with Unbreakable Iron Ranger. Originally, I wanted to be a part of the Dive Approved because I was trying to help figure out and show, hey, this is what we want for the Dive Approved, what we mean by hot-blooded. Honestly, at this point, I'm still debating on it. I may have, for right now, Unbreakable Iron Ranger removed from the Dive Approved because I want to focus on promoting more original talent and promoting more of that. I feel like also with having UIR there, it just kind of feels self-relating right now, not with all the self-reflection. If people still enjoy it, if it still represents the Dive Approved well, then I'll keep it. But I honestly want to make sure Dive Approved is for original creations. And that's about it. All right. That's the last update I can say about this right now. I am currently having to go pick up my little sister. I may join back in on the podcast and stuff later this evening. That's all I wanted to say. For everybody that's stuck around with the dive, thank you very much. It means a lot.
No, that's not your
And
fault.
I'm sorry I've been kind of a dumbass.
At least you're honest
Y'all have a
about
good
it, because
evening.
most of these comicers, they'd be like, nah, forget about it. I ain't gonna be a truther.
To quote Principal
All
Skinner,
right, well, I'll see you guys later.
me that's the problem?
No, it's the
No, children are wrong.
See ya.
Later, dude.
See you, man.
All right, bye-bye.
That was a garage door opening.
Oh.
Yeah.
goes
my
Russ is preparing the mech to pick up his sister. Big O, it's showtime.
Big O, and action!
And, yeah,
Dun,
God, that's always so fucking cool though with Big O.
Oh, God, I love Big O.
Big O, It's showtime.
Yeah, I picked up the Blu-ray collection for Big O a while back, and they really did a good job of updating the visuals and remastering some stuff.
Yo, that's great, man.
I still wish we got like another at least anime or cartoon that looked just like Big O.
Well, we do. We've got Batman the Animated Series.
That's true. I'm talking.
Yeah, we do.
I was talking more future shows, not past.
We got
shows.
Batman Beyond.
Oh, don't try to twist my words. Okay, we got words that I don't know. Fuck, I lost my train of thought because reactor.
Bruce Timm has actually directed a couple of the independent, like sort of disconnected DC animated universe films recently. Like there was that Batman and Harley one, which was not even half bad. Like I know some people have their gripes with it, but I thought it was okay.
didn't like it. I personally didn't like it because he just
I don't think I heard of that one.
Batman
like
and Harley.
the one where-
That's the one where the
yeah.
famous clip where Nightwing gets tied up and Harley's alone in a room with him.
Yep.
Yeah, no idea.
Really?
Somehow completely just completely out of my radar.
You know, I don't blame you, and I'm honestly kind of lucky. Or no, you're lucky. I'm not. Same with the opening part of the Killing Joke movie that they made. Don't want to talk about that.
Don't get me started on that one.
Yeah, I know they made a movie. Haven't seen it. I did get the graphic novel for my dad for Christmas one year, though. That's as close as I got to Killing Joke.
Yeah, don't watch the movie. If you're gonna watch the movie, skip the first. I don't know what is
first half.
Yeah. When they actually
Or I
start
could
talking
just
about
go
Joker,
read
then
the
you can start
comic.
watching it again.
But anyway, so yeah, that was about all the dive news for now, everyone. So as you can assume, some big changes. Hopefully, things are starting to get the gears a bit more turning. Besides just the podcast, which I'll admit it's probably only still going because I'm the one running it. And,
It's a good idea. The Dive Podcast is a good idea.
Oh yeah, no, it is. It's just for the past while, this has been the only real thing that's been being done with Outlaw Dive.
It'll happen. It'll fall into its own one day. I have faith.
Yeah, it's gonna take time.
Gotta have faith, man.
So just to get this out of the way, no questions in this week.
Oh.
Okay. No
remember
questions.
you-
I have a hot take.
And you can get to that in 1 second. Remember, you can send any questions you got to us for the podcast into outlawdive@gmail.com. No spaces. It's all lowercase. outlawdive@gmail.com. Now then, have fun being
Naruto
controversial.
sucks.
Just the whole thing,
Yes.
or okay. Please,
No.
Please explain. Man shows up, gives a hot take, refuses to explain.
I'm gonna say it like
leaves.
this though.
All right. I see how it is.
Yeah.
Black letters.
I know who is it? I know what people like Rust and Bean have already seen it, but please, for the love of God, go read on Viz the Hunters Guild Red Hood. Got
Yes,
tall,
yes,
beautiful,
yes,
muscular women.
yes, Clay. I am reading that right now.
Yeah,
I read the new chapter that came out on Sunday. Just, yes.
Rush just be like, oh, yeah, oh.
I am very,
Whoa, don't you put those grunts
Very
in
happy.
his mouth?
Oh God.
If he were going to grunt, he would grunt in a much more Georgian manner than that.
yeah. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
That's just Goofy's laugh. What the hell, man?
Isn't that Russ's line?
No.
No, it most certainly is not.
Rust?
See, I'm gonna
No,
let me
that's
just
very
put,
much-
I'm gonna put this out there now. It's fun to have a go, but man's not here. Let's not bully Rust.
If anyone's allowed to bully him, it's me, a reactor, and then there's Rust's girlfriend. Everyone else
That
can
is
tangentially bully
very
him
different.
somehow.
That is
I don't
not
fucking know.
bullying.
I don't fucking know. Give it like a week before you get back to bullying him. The man just got over a hyper self-reflection.
He also got over fucking COVID, so
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That was a thing he had
Yeah.
for a while
He
and told
what?
no one until he almost got
yeah, so
over it.
cut the man some slack. Dude's had a busy couple weeks and stuff. So
I should note though, the COVID is the only reason he had the self-reflection, cause it forced him to sit still. So.
I did not know that.
Silver-
What the
A single
what the-
silver
what the
lining
fuck?
there.
What? Is that why he was gone for like 2 weeks?
yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
2 weeks. Right,
Yeah.
I'm stupid.
So, right, we'll go to Sir Reactor. You had a topic for us this week, correct?
I did, and I thought that given the topics of sort of restructuring the dive and stuff, I thought it might be kind of a good opportunity to bring it up. On the topic of restructuring and scheduling, talking about some process stuff for being an independent creator, how to pre-plan, how to make a buffer, how to make your content scheduled in a way where it can be effective and that you've got enough content to post a bunch of stuff, but also to maximize your use of the content that you've got. I think that that would be a good topic to cover today.
You're literally the most knowledgeable person in the server. Go right on ahead.
Okay, well,
So, where you want to start with?
so I was thinking that like one of the things that I see most frequently, right, is like there's a bunch of really super talented webcomic creators that I work with and I know, and like they will throw a really, really stellar like 4 to 5 pages out there. It'll be like, oh my god, these are so well rendered. Look at the backgrounds, look at the characters, look at these painstakingly crafted poses. This is really nice. And then they post those, and 2 weeks go by without the scheduled updates that they have said that they're going to post. And then on the 3rd week, you get the notice of a hiatus that they're going to take off. And then you get the notice a little while after that the hiatus is going to be extended. And then they post another post that says they've got their motivation back. And then you get another really good 5 pages. And then the cycle repeats itself. And I think that the issue that comes with that sort of thing is twofold. I think that on one hand, there's a material issue, which is just strictly the amount of production and time that can be put into something when you're releasing something on a regular schedule. And I also think the other one is an internal one, which is in terms of a creator's self-perception and reflection of their own worth in their own eyes, as well as more like kind of a worry and a source of anxiety about the perception of their work from the audience and how they engage with it. Because particularly with webcomics that are posted online and the analytics are right there and are always available to be checked, there's a really strong temptation to go look at that stuff. And it can be demoralizing when, you know, you've busted your ass on these 5 really solid pages and feel like, oh man, that didn't quite pick up. And I think the thing that can get missed there is that it's not necessarily about those 5 pages, right? Like for you as the artist, as the creator, as the writer, it's about the 5 pages, that's what you've got released, that's what this workflow and process has been leading to. But for the audience, this is one update that they will look at and they will check and they will read it for whatever their reading speed is. That could be anywhere from 30 seconds to 10 minutes that they'll go over this thing there. And maybe they'll give it multiple reads if it comes up on their feed more than once. So reposting is always good, but like there's a level of like disconnect between a creator and their audience and how they engage with the work. And I think that the important thing to recognize as a creator is that for an audience, the most important thing is some level of consistency and continuity, and that when you've got a series that's up and going, like, there is a natural way to kind of like drop a bit of a thread, like a bit of a tantalizing hook to keep people coming back for the next things there. And so knowing the way you're going to be breaking up and releasing that comic, or whatever medium you're choosing, is important, because you are going to be ending on a specific note to keep bringing people back for the next ones. And it's not like every single update you post has to end with somebody on the precipice of death or like something ridiculous like that, you know? But like having a battle that, you know, is left off part way, having a conversation that is left off part way, where the topic is relevant to the story and interesting. There's ways that you can, you know, frame and orient these updates and pieces of your story within the release schedule that you've got, that they can be made increasingly interesting, increasingly engaging for an audience that you have that's existing, and for an audience that's just seeing this for the first time, where it's like, if they just see this come up on their feed and they see some of the highlighted pages and it's like, wait a minute, hey, yo, what's this? What's going on here? And that's how you can really grab people with that. Like, great art and great visuals are always a really important aspect of it. But I think there's a level of reasonability that has to come with recognizing what your upload schedule has to be like, in order to maintain a project like what you're trying to do. So you'll see things like projects that are fantastic, but they take forever to update and they take forever to happen. And if you're Kentaro Miura, God rest his soul, amazing man, brilliant creator,
Poor bastard.
that's fine. But if you're an independent creator who doesn't have much of a following yet, and your series isn't established, it doesn't have the benefit of having gone for multiple decades, so much of what you're doing is going to be cultivating that audience and cultivating their interest, and having a large amount of content is key there. So there's a couple of strategies that can be important for that, but I'd like to hear from you guys on what you think processes that are effective in cultivating those sorts of things are for you as readers and as creators.
Well, I'll admit, I've only really worked on like one comic that got published out into the world fucking years ago, like before I met Rust. And honestly, that was just more so to get myself to get used to the art tablet than anything else, and to digital drawing. But I put like a good 2 years of work into that for 100 pages. Which, in the grand scale of like how that thing is, it's fucking pitiful. Because a page took me like 4 hours, and it had one of the simplest fucking art styles anyone could look at and go, this could be used for a comic.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. If it works well, it works well.
Yeah, it's more just kind of like a thing that passed me being like, man, I planned out is not the right word. Rough outline of the thing, mostly due to the fact that I was basing it off of Dante's Inferno. So there was already a, like, base for me to work off of that I just put my little characters in and went with it.
Public domain!
Yeah, fucking...
Cannot wait for Mickey Mouse to be public domain.
Yeah, it was nice.
Cannot wait for Mickey Mouse to be public domain.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is the original incarnation of him will become public domain, but subsequent works will be potentially still within corporate intellectual property domains. So
specifically, Rubber House Mickey will become public domain.
That's why they keep
future.
updating the visual look of him to distinguish him from the previous incarnations.
You know what? That's fair. That's completely fair. Just stop fucking with copyright laws. I swear to God.
The thing that's more annoying than American companies abusing copyright is other companies abusing America's copyright. Like, the whole situation with, like, anime reactors on YouTube and the anime studios are like Shueisha and everything getting involved when they're just making innocent content of how much they love a series. It's literally free promotion, and they don't want it. It's stupid. Pisses me off. If I go on this tangent for too long, I'll actually end up like getting extremely angry.
I remember this exact kind of thing with fucking Nintendo years ago when like the fucking LP bubble was a thing and Nintendo was like,
no,
don't play our games on YouTube or we'll
play our games.
Fucking shoot
okay.
You.
I'll say this much when it comes to that stuff, though, like, not quite a devil's advocate opinion, but just sort of like an explication upon some of the points, I guess, is I've always found it to be, like, it's a balance, you know? Like, on one hand, yes, absolutely, I feel like everybody should have the right to make, like, content that is, like, not, I don't want to use derivative as the term, that's not the right word for it, and legally, that's not
I think the legal term is transformative.
But, transformative and remix content that effectively takes something and places it in a different context. So I think review, journalism, critique, parody, all that kind of stuff is great. Where I think that, like, a lot of the reaction videos, for me, fall into a bit of a area that I would consider less meriting of, like, the protections of fair use and stuff, is where, like, the dudes literally just sit with their, you know, faces in the corner staring at a screen, not, like, commenting on anything for, like, 5 minutes at a time while watching this stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, it's pretty transparently, like, either they're not a very good reactor, or they're not, you know, they're uploading something with the idea of, oh yeah, I'm uploading this as quote-unquote transformative content so I can make revenue off of it for as long as I can before it gets pulled down. And there are some people who have that racket there, and I think it's a balance, and I think that it's unfortunate on both counts, because people who do stuff like that do negatively affect the people who do go into it with good intentions and do cut their reviews so they're not just uploading the full episode, but, like, reacting to the highlight points of the episode. You know?
I have a very...
not every episode is going to be a reaction gold mine. There are filler episodes of Naruto where you get maybe, like, 3 minutes worth of good reaction and commentary out of it, just because of the nature of the way the episode goes.
Oh, Naruto, we gotta take this safe to the construction site.
There's a very short list of reactors on the internet that... Really?
That was a real fucking episode, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm not missing much.
Yes!
The only one I remember with Naruto filler is, like, when Lee got drunk again and he kicked somebody's ass. That was actually a pretty good filler episode.
Was that filler?
Yeah, it was
in
filler.
Manga.
It's definitely filler.
Because that was in the middle of, like, the Sasuke retrieval arc.
No. It was a completely different character. It wasn't the guy with the bones. It was some guy with lightning.
The Kimimaro fight is in the manga.
Okay, completely different incident.
All right. But there's like a...
All right.
Yeah.
There's only like a
few
reactors that I can think of off the top of my head that actually, like, legit, like, actually put effort into their stuff. And, like, 2 of them are, like, group reaction channels. I think the first one is Ivory XL on YouTube. Shout out to that guy. He's awesome. His Jujutsu Kaisen reactions are, like, peak. They're so good. There's the normies, who have been around for a long time. They react to a lot of, like, anime and nerdy pop culture stuff. They're really cool. They have a lot of great insights as to, like, their thought processes on anime as they're being released. I think that's cool. And Blind Wave, who I actually found through their reactions of Dragon Ball Z Abridged. So that was almost a very bad move for their channel, considering how much Toei hated that series. Not really Toei. I think Dragon Ball Super referenced it a couple times. But Shueisha just fucking despises Abridged series, which really sucks.
Well, as far as reactors go, I don't really watch any of them, but the only good one I know is our own
I was waiting for it. I was fucking waiting for it.
Oh yeah. What was I gonna say? Plot twist. Let's see. Plot twist. Plot twist. Okay, you gonna interrupt me? All right. Anyways, plot twist. I used to be a YouTube reactor.
You did? Oh, I'm looking for you right now.
Huh.
Ah, son of a bitch.
I deleted it. You can't find it. I deleted that channel. I did Clay Reacts. I called
To the Wayback Machine.
No, I got this. I literally got the I think the thing that got me to delete it was literally this. You know what? I swear to God, there was this one dude who put like the whole, not like, how can I explain? It's kind of like the Navy SEAL copy pasta, but he somehow did it in a way where it's like, is this all you have to do in your time reacting to videos? Go get a real job. And I'm like, I was 11 when I started doing that. That's really horrible to say to an 11-year-old.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking rough for to throw at a kid. Holy shit.
Yeah. I think that in terms of like the process stuff of things and like perception, to kind of get back to the initial topic, is like as a creator, I think that like lack of response and negative response can like absolutely totally demolish and torpedo somebody's sense of self-worth as they're working on a project, which can be
I can attest to that. I've seen it happen with a few people I know, because I'm friends with many comic creator. So
yeah, and like that's not to say that constructive critique or any critique is invalid. Like I actually personally believe that critique is a very important process. I just think that the Venn diagram of warranted critique and the people who are effective at giving it in ways where it's constructive and actionable for the creator are fairly, I want to say it's a fairly narrow Venn diagram, like where it's the crossover between those two things. But with the internet being the way it is...
it's 100% a skill people can learn, but people who just can do it with very little, like, know-how, that is a rare thing.
Mm-hmm. And it's something you have to cultivate. Like, it's a school that, like, it's a school of thought into itself, you know? Because you're not just thinking about, like, pointing out as an observer why those things stand out to you, but you're pointing it out in a way that the creator can actionably do something about it, and in a way that's within their means to do. Because, like, there's some feedback you could give a creator, and they'd be like, well, thanks, but I'm physically incapable of doing that, so... And it's like being aware of what the limitations of the creator and the production that you're interacting with, whether that's studio limitations, licensing limitations, in the case of an ongoing that's licensed to a company, or in the case of stuff where it's like an individual creator and like their actual means of production and the tools at their disposal and the time they can put into it is limited. Like, tailoring feedback to be effective for people is hard. And like, I guess that's just something I want to point out to people offering critique, is just as in the same way as anyone can give feedback and critique, anyone can critique your critique, you know? Like, there's a level of, you know...
You may give feedback, but it might be shit
feedback. Well, it's not even that shit feedback. Your feedback might need feedback on how to give feedback effectively. Like, that's... Yeah.
Yeah, because the feedback is shit.
Well, it's not even that shit. Sometimes people just don't know how to get a point across, and like they sound like they mean something else entirely. And it's not even that it's harmful. It's just like they can't articulate the thing they mean. And so it's, you know, cultivating the vocabulary to be able to say what you mean to say, and the, you know, keen eye to actually observe where that's effective advice to give and where it isn't.
It's a long road to becoming a proper wordsmith.
Man that is currently in his third semester of an English degree. Yes, it is. It's a very acquired skill. And like the whole thing with like criticism is like you said, there's a very fine line between like legitimate criticism and like bad faith criticism. Because when you're looking at stuff from an angle of like you're going in and saying, okay, I'm going into this. I heard from someone else that it sucks, and I'm going to critique it. You're more than you're more likely to find stuff about what you're critiquing that you would feel the need to critique than if you were just completely going blank. Like, perfect example, CinemaSins. I fucking hate that guy. He just like nitpicks every single little small detail from every like a movie or piece of media that he decides to go after on a certain day.
Yeah,
The Chad Cinema wins. I love that guy. I love that guy so much.
Cinema wins. It's kind of crazy, but I agree though. It's kind of crazy how much I understand. Obviously, criticism, but it's just kind of crazy how much being like a nitpicker can really piss people off, and then you got people that I think that can say positive stuff, but they can also criticize it. It's like those are the people that we want. We don't want.
And then you
like,
have the people that defend them like,
nitpickers,
oh, it's just satire. He's just satirizing it. No.
He is the game dude.
Like, no, it's
he
not.
is so rude.
No.
He is the gamer with the bad attitude.
Whatever. But like,
God fucking damn it, man.
it's just so bad. People that just go in and nitpick and don't think in like the broader context of like a story or like where like what the form of entertainment is. Like the people that like a good example, A Quiet Place. That movie rules. Everyone's like, oh, why don't they just go live over by the waterfall? Do you know like how hard it would be to have to move in that environment with all the shit in like drawers and bags and whatnot jingle jangling all over the place?
Yeah.
I always hate about that stuff too. Again, about the nitpicking. It's like, bro, if they got a consistent plot thing going on, if you keep nitpicking about this shit, then don't fucking watch the movie then. Like, because they literally have all this planned, and yes, there is, yes, some humans will think of common sense. That's what we do, but at the same time, it's like this is what they did. We can't do that. That's what the director decided to do. That's what the writers decided to write in. Like, if you're, and like I always say with the indie stuff, if you're complaining about so much, to make
a lot of it goes
thing.
back to if you're complaining about it so much, just like go do your own shit. Nothing's stopping you.
But they probably won't because they don't have the talent for it.
Get him, Clay.
Oh. Well, that's the thing too. Is like I don't think. I think that it's a false equivalency to attribute skill level to poor critique. I think some people are really good at doing things, but poor at teaching things. You know, like I think that there's folks who are very skilled but offer sometimes very surface level critique just because they can kind of like instantly observe what they would do differently, but not why they would do it differently. And that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. At least they're one of your peers. At least they're doing something, you know, within the field that's somewhat related. But I would also be quick to say that I think there is a level of, you know, like not lack of self-awareness, but a level of like projection that comes from pointing out things we wouldn't do and things we would do differently, because it's like when we look for the flaws in our own work, right? We come into it with a very, you know, critical eye, and there's a lot of stuff that with our own works we might, you know, notice, but no one would ever notice until we point it out. And that's okay, you know, like far from the worst thing to just have a work that, you know, you are hard on yourself about, but everybody else loves, and maybe eventually you come to love it just as much, or maybe you quietly sort of simmer on not liking it, but you get over it and you move on because you gotta keep producing. Gotta keep making more content.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta look back at the little mishaps and mistakes you made and just be like, well, maybe I can work this in to what I'm doing now. And here's a dumb but kind of cool example is a little comic called Tails Gets Trolled.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There are there's a number of like spelling errors through like the beginning and whatnot, and then they will get like brought up later, and like addressed in the comic by the characters themselves. It's like, wait, oh my god, I did do that. Oh, I'm an idiot. And then they'll like go and try and fix themselves. It's really nice seeing that. It also helped that the community around the comic actually like helped improve the author's spelling while he was having it run.
Damped.
Yeah, like the only two things that I know about Tails Gets Trolled is that one redraw of Tails' face.
The one
that
everyone knows
does,
so.
where they can't like get the emotion.
That one infamous
they can't
panel.
get the emotion quite down, and the shadow in time prison.
Yeah, I got fucking. Like a few months ago, me and Rust were actually doing like live readings of it for the OCT that we're running, just every once in a while for
You and
fun.
Rust and me. How quickly we forget.
My guy, I am sorry you were not there all the time.
I was there enough.
Right? You were, and it was great having you. But yeah, no, it was... Because I hadn't actually read the comic, so going through that was my first time reading it, and oh wow, that thing is better than it has any right to be.
Wow, this fat person is taking
It's
forever
insane.
to burn. You are right. Next time, remind me not to murder such a fat person.
That is
Oh my
along
God.
the lines of dialogue from the comic, but then there's like other moments. I could just go on about Tails Gets Trolled, but we
Okay. I have to know. How does Tails actually get
These guys
trolled?
called
Like,
the
what
trolls
happens
come
to
up
him?
and they
Okay,
troll him
so-
and they call him gay. That's the entire plot.
that's it.
Is that it?
No, so what I like even more is Tails like in an open field. He's walking along, and there's a cave that two guys just slink out of like assholes and go, "You're gay," and that's the inciting incident. That's it.
Is that where the infamous panel comes
Yes.
from?
That's where it comes from. They call him gay, and he just freezes like, ha! I need to go get Sonic.
The funniest part about that panel is just no one can agree on what that emotion is supposed to be because it portrays so much and so little all at the same time.
Oh god, it's like a weird modern masterpiece. It's
That one
amazing.
panel.
Move over,
It's
Mona
so
Lisa.
good. I've never looked at that panel and not laughed. It's such a good panel because it's just the pure embodiment of like disbelief, shock, anger, sadness. It's literally all of the stages of grief put into one image.
It's fucking astounding.
It is
Oh.
oh my god, it's one of my favorite like comic images of all time. Just that one, he's just I need to find that image. I need to see this thing again.
The
Tails
day
gets-
someone can surpass that image it's going to be a very weird day if it ever happens.
There it is. There it is. I'm gonna put it in the chat log without context.
Oh, you. All right.
There we go. Here's another one. It's Sonic. I'm so mad. I'm gonna have sex with my girlfriend,
so
I won't be so mad
anymore. Yeah, that's an infamous line.
There's also the okay, well that's stupid.
I think my favorite is still like there's
the
Emerald during one of the fights. He just goes, "Well, shit, I'm dead."
Yeah.
I know this generate debate, but every time I look at this... Oh, okay. Actually, this was like... I think I was a kid when I first saw this, and I legit said, did Chris Chan hire somebody to make another comic or something?
Oh,
But here's a Tumblr comment. This panel from Tails Gets Trolled is genuinely a level of expressive that I am constantly trying to achieve with my own art. I've always been so genuinely stricken by this panel and how such a crude drawing managed to be so expressive and so strongly evocative of a very specific emotion.
Reactor.
And no one has come even close to even like scratching the surface on what that image is.
Reactor. My guy. My friend. My gold shekel gun dealer. I have a request for you. Take this panel, use it in one of your lessons, so that Tails Gets Trolled can now be said to be used in classes.
You to assume that I have
to help teach people.
Oh.
Please, please, Reactor, please.
I use
please
the
tell me you have.
discussion panel with the trolls cannot bully me because I have no ears and therefore I cannot hear what they call me. And then like,
oh god, Alex, yeah.
The Dragonborn.
The way to stop a troll is to become his friend.
Yep.
As his friend, you can show him the right path. That is bullshit. Don't listen to him. That won't work.
The fact that Tails Gets Trolled has been used in a classroom environment to teach people. Oh, this is great. This is fucking great. Someone
Picasso
needs to find
wants what
Laserbot
Tails
and
Gets
tell
Trolled
him
has.
that.
Picasso wants what Tails Gets Trolled has. Even if you combined all of the greatest art pieces from all of the world's greatest expressionism artists together into one piece, it still wouldn't be enough to come close to the sheer amount of raw emotion found in this one panel. It's such a good panel. What the fuck is up with Wile E. Coyote? What the hell?
Oh yeah, no, there's just a constant problem there of his snout is always like drawn really.
Thanks for
Oh,
helping
no,
me
like-
kill the Roadrunner, chaps.
Yeah.
There's one with Knuckles sleeping with the monkey, and he goes, "What the fuck?" And the monkey just goes banana.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fucking. That goddamn comic spawned a lot of memes, like.
Okay, no,
Like,
wait, I think I might have found the.
knitting.
I think I found the one image that comes close to recreating the sheer expressionism of the one panel.
Oh Jesus.
the Tails, wait,
Oh,
the Tails
God,
like
I
anime
fucking
insane.
I
face.
have to add these onto the fucking title card now. God damn it.
You're welcome.
Oh, I don't know if I actually should though, cause it's the Outlaw Dive image. Fuck.
We're talking about Tails Gets Trolled. What's more relatable than talking about one of the greatest single webcomics ever created?
No, it's more like if I slap the image on the fucking image card. I don't know. It might just be fucking overthinking it or some shit, but god damn it. And anyway, fucking move away from the visual element. This is an audio thing. Fucking motherfucker, god damn it. Alright.
I mean, like, we kind of had to do the visual aspect of Tails gets trolled because there is no way you can describe the emotion portrayed in that image.
No, you're right, but it's now that you've thrown the second one out, where it's like, okay, this may be getting a bit much.
Holy
So
shit!
one of the things I was going to say,
Why is
following
Tails
up
so
on the
sweaty?
production and process things, because honestly, a thing that's interesting about
please go
Tails
on.
Gets Trolled is the fact that like the state of completion that it's in, and just the way it was uploaded. Like another case where it was really sporadic, but the content really grabbed people just because of like how eclectic and strange it was. One of the things that I was going to say is like, I don't mean to imply that there's any correct, like, right or wrong way to go about production, but I do think that there are ways to make it less stressful on yourself as a creator. And one of the ways that I was, like, even just talking about, like, prior to us coming onto the cast here was just, like, if you are doing pages, you may as well set it up so that, like, you know, if you have a period of time where it's like, okay, I know that in my free time, after work, between other things, I can get done like 2 pages, or 3 pages, or 4 pages a day. And you say, okay, on weekdays, not weekends, I'll give myself the weekends. On weekdays, after work, in between other things, I will do 2 pages, or 3 pages, or 4 pages, whatever it is, just so there's some level of production that goes past the number of days in the week there, right? So, like, if you do 2 pages every 5 days, that is 10 pages. If you do 3 pages every 5 days, that's 15 pages. And if you do 4 pages every day for 5 days, that ends up being 20 pages overall, really quickly, right? And one of the things that's cool is that in the space of a month, and like it's not even a schedule you have to adhere to rigorously, you could do this for 1 month. If you do 4 pages a day, 5 days a week, you get a total of 80 pages by the end of that month. And is that a lot? Yes, that is a lot, especially if you're like doing updates where it's like 5 pages a week, 20 pages a month, something to that degree. And it's also a degree of manageable because if you know what your capacity is, like even if you have some more intense pages that have a lot to be done on them, a lot of, you know, texts or like just general post edits and stuff that need to be done on them, you can afford yourself that time anytime on your weekends there where you've got a free moment. It doesn't end up eating into your production on other things, and you can get a good rhythm going. So, like...
And... So, but yeah, that explanation is kind of why I might have gone a little hard on myself earlier about I only bid to like 100 pages over the course of 2 years.
Oh, for sure, and that's not to knock what you've done. I think 100 pages is a very respectable accomplishment as far as independent production goes. I'd say that, you know, by and large, it's, you know, far above the norm that a lot of people get to in producing. Like, the thing that a lot of people, as far as creatives go, I think lose sight of is the fact that there are far more people who have quit and dropped the field and the process entirely than there are people still in it. And no matter how low you feel like you sit on the totem pole of creative works, the fact that you're still on it at all is, you know, markedly better than a lot of people end up doing. And I think that, like, I don't want to say as if, like, oh yeah, if you just stick with things long enough, things come together. Like, that's not entirely true. There's levels of the merit and, like, the resonation of the content that you create with your audience. There's levels of, like, just how you network, the people you work with, how well you promote the actual thing that you're putting this effort into. But I do think that, like, if you're struggling to find motivation to continue the works that you're doing, just think about the fact that, like, the bulk of people who have ever seen or thought about doing a creative endeavor have fallen off on doing it. And the fact that you're actually doing it puts you that far ahead of everybody who said they were gonna and never did. But the important thing to keep in mind with that, too, is that that's not, you know, an excuse to not push yourself and to not try more things or to try to really see what you can do and test your own limitations. Because I know, like, just as anybody else is, there are days where I absolutely could have been more productive. I could have sat down, got more done, could have sat down, worked more on commissions or comics, or worked on different things in the bigger scheme of things. But, you know, there's a level of stuff that happens with mental health and other things there, and sometimes that production schedule isn't possible. But if you give yourself that month, and you do 4 pages, 5 days a week, and you come out of it with 80 pages, that gives you a 3-month buffer to figure out other means of producing content or to get into a rhythm where you can sustain it. So even if you are only doing 20 pages a month, you always have a buffer of 3 months where if anything happened to you, or you wanted to take a vacation, or you wanted to take time away from it, or God forbid, you got put in the hospital and you were unable to physically work on your project, you would have the security there and the assurance there that you have stuff that you've produced and is handy to take that strain off of you. So it's like front-loading things in a way that will make things less stressful and make the scramble to get things done less frustrating and less intense and less likely to reduce your interest in continuing to do that thing. So I would always say have more done up front before you start releasing things than just to commit and throw things out there and just sort of hope for the best. Because as much as it's awesome and it's super amazing to see people with throwing stuff out there and they have so much momentum right at the start, you also see a lot of people start trip and falter midway into that too. And I think it's important to recognize that that's avoidable, it's preventable. There's ways to manage burnout and ways to manage your production in a way that's not going to be detrimental to your well-being or your series.
Oh yeah, because
I could say I definitely.
What was it? I remember this one time. It was between my stream, my comic making. I was trying to figure out if I was depressed or I was burned out, and then people actually got really worried for me, and I was like, oh, it's no, man, you're just burned out. You're not depressed. Because sometimes it's kind of weird with me. I can't even tell the difference if I'm burned out or if I'm depressed because I didn't want to work on my comic stuff or my streaming that day, but it's oh, it's actually burnout. Because I was depressed, I feel even more sadder about it.
Well, I think that's valid too, right? I'm not going to tell you that, you're invalid for feeling stressed about your work or being depressed or anything, right? There's a friend of mine, a guy that I work with, who fell off of drawing for years and years and years because he lost 2 fingers in a damn car accident. So, there are reasons. There are reasons that people walk away from something they're passionate about and they come back to it later. And this friend of mine, I'm not going to throw his name out there because I know he hates being brought up in public spaces, but I want him to know that I see him and I recognize him and I recognize the progress that he's making in getting back to this stuff. I want him to know that the thing that's super impressive to me is the fact that in spite of all of that, and in spite of all of the challenges that accident also created in his life, he's come back to the stuff that he's doing. He's around a bunch of creatives in a community that doesn't pressure him to do more than he can do, but respects and celebrates when he can. And, that he's happy with the stuff that he does when he does it. It's really nice just to have that level of, healthy surroundings and healthy process in your production, that you're not putting yourself in a place where you make yourself feel even worse about a situation, because that's kind of thing can happen really easily when you're in that kind of position. There's people who get onset depression or onset behavioral things that come up for them that affect their states, or a medication they're on gets switched around and that affects their daily day-to-day process and their time management for stuff. And you know what? Completely valid, absolutely valid. It's a tough thing, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for people who work within their means to get done the most that they can. All I'm saying here in talking about production schedules and stuff, just to be clear about that, is that there's ways to optimize and there's ways that I think can reduce some of the strains that may come additionally with that, particularly for people who are already in that position. I guess to put it another way, to use a metaphor and an allegory, so you are loading, it's the Red Bull races where you've got those gravity-powered cars, and you have the options of putting 4 wheels on a flattened plywood plank, and rolling down that hill, seeing how it goes, and risking life and limb and potentially putting yourself in the hospital for a very long time with the way things turn out, because it's just the quickest assembly to get it out the door and get things moving. And yeah, you'll be there at the Red Bull downhill tournament. Yeah, you'll be there and you'll be present and people will see you and you'll be putting yourself out there. But there's also now the trade-off of if something goes wrong or if there's a unforeseen thing that comes up while you're going downhill. Now the onus and the impetus is on you while maintaining that momentum, because otherwise you will wipe out, to repair anything that comes up or to manage that in a way that allows you to maintain that momentum or keep it up as best you can, even if there's, disruptions and challenges that come with it. So I think that production and publishing is much the same way. That if you are treating your project as something that you are going to just sort of jump down the slope and see how it pans out, you might encounter difficulties that come with that. And if you're front-loading as well, there's its own challenges. It's a lot of work to do that. It is absolutely a lot of effort and time and things that need to go up into things early on. But I know which one I prefer, and it is the latter, which is to front-load and to have a buffer of content and to really just build up a level of safety and security that allows you to maintain a basis of activity and ongoing stuff. So the incidental things like drawing memes, interacting with your community, making more art of characters that people enjoy from a chapter, like that's something you give yourself more time to do. And that's something that I think is really cool because it gives you more of an opportunity to work that angle and not take away from time that needs to go to production.
Yeah, I can definitely say that the front loading part is the much easier way to do it, as I've been slowly working on my own projects and some other things. One for the dive, one's a collab thing, and just my own miscellaneous amount of back burner stuff on my own. And just yeah, we're getting all that done and front loaded first before throwing it to the winds. Definitely the much better option.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I found out a really cool piece of information.
Yeah, the one.
Did you guys know that Walter White is a furry?
Oh, also fun fact. Do you know that I'm not a furry because they're degenerates? In a way?
Grandpa posted another image of Tails gets.
I've known a couple furries. I will not. I will. I've been waiting for so long to put that there.
I swear to God, man.
I have known a couple furries in the actual real world, and I will say nothing towards their degeneracy or lack thereof.
I mean, just about everyone's a degenerate in their own way. I'm just gonna leave it there.
I'll be totally honest. My lack of interest, complete disinterest in the stuff, has no bearing on my feelings on people's ability to engage with whatever. In the same way as judge not lest ye be judged. I do absolutely think it's weird. I would probably never ever find myself participating in it or wanting to draw anthro or furry art. I'm just not comfortable with it. But at the same time, I really don't see a need to be a narc or a negative presence on it, especially with the abundance of heavily puritanical censorship online right now. If they're allowed to get away with their thing, I'm allowed to get away with my thing. And that's, to me, that is, the free market doing its thing, so more power to them. Even if it's nothing I would engage with.
Yeah, as long as they stay in little spaces they make for themselves, I don't fucking care.
Just leave me out of it, unless I
That's
ask,
a slippery
hey, what do you think
slope
about
to ask
Persona
that
with
question.
me? And just leave me out of it.
That is also different because that is you.
I have asked that question. I know what I am.
I was gonna say
you're not getting dragged in or having it thrown in the public internet square. That's you walking into the nightclub and going, So hey,
I'm not 21, but can I have some drinks, please?
Your UN mandated and assigned persona that they give everyone by force. I think that'd be a bit of a nightmare
21.
scenario, but that's not what's happening. So
I'm not a furry, but I know what my persona is. I'm a brown
that has
bear.
some implications already.
Okay, shut up. It's only the only implications that are there are the ones that you're making, Delta. Okay, you leave that alone.
Say it, man.
I'll put it this way. There is a
friends
reason
with
I didn't bring it
people.
up.
Yep. This is your grave. How's that shovel handling?
Pretty well. I'm about
It's handling pretty well, actually. I'm hoping. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just standing here in my
I'm
my
here in
hole,
my garage with my 2 Ferraris.
the hole that I'm digging myself.
Lamborghini, about to drop some knowledge.
Not
some knowledge.
knowledge.
Reactor around complex machinery. Oh no.
Blowing up a reactor in real life.
Here's the thing, I'm fine with complex machinery. I grew up around a lot of, heavy
Blowing up a reactor
Oh,
at 3 a.m.
I'm
challenge
very
to
aware, Reactor. I've seen your
Yeah.
Twitter.
blowing up a reactor at 3 a.m.
Blowing up a
challenge to
reactor
summon the
3
spirits
a.m.
of
live
Chernobyl.
reaction, not fake. Yep.
If
Not
the
fake,
catalog
conceptual.
gets big enough that I get to tour it to different things, when I go to Ukraine, I will absolutely make the gag, "Look out, Chernobyl, he's back!"
God
Bring
damn.
that reunion to it.
It's like that meme of the video that Ninja posted where it's like, Ninja did what in Europe? And then the following video was the Notre Dame burning down.
Yeah, Notre Dame. You saying
Notre
Notre
Dame,
Dame
whatever-
nearly
whatever the
activated
French
like the
version is.
MK Ultra
Okay,
kill instinct
Notre-
that
yeah,
Quebecois
when you say
install into all
Notre Dame,
Canadians.
Well, okay, when you say Notre Dame, you mean like the kind of building historical thing. When you say Notre Dame, you're talking about the football team. Like that's like at least like that's like how you say
Okay,
it without
well-
like quote unquote offending anybody.
Well, I can't really talk
That's
for
me,
3
yeah.
seconds without offending anyone,
Welcome
apparently.
to the internet.
The internet where everyone is offended and you don't give a shit.
Welcome to the internet. Have a look around.
Just you existing is going to piss off someone, unfortunately.
Think of can
That's
be
just
found.
the sad reality right now.
Yeah, and that makes me very
Oh, I
happy
know
that my existence pisses
people
someone
off
off.
with the amount of anti-Semitic comments I get.
I think
every
that's
once in a while through my DMs.
Yeah.
Wait, you're
Jesus
Jewish?
Christ.
The Lord.
Yes. Yes, Clay, he is.
Okay.
That's why I made the joke of.
Yeah.
I'm just
The unstable
I'm just-
reactor
That's why I
lore.
made the joke of he is my gold shekel
Oh
gun
my
dealer.
god!
Shabbat Shalom.
I was gonna say
Lying.
I was
Oh my god.
I was born a pure born white boy, so it's probably like 50% of the population probably hates me.
I
Oh, man,
I'm
no one,
so
no one,
fucking
no one
white,
will
bro.
hate
It's
you
not
for no
even
reason.
funny.
Like,
If
we've
I
all
if
seen
I
Pete
even
and Niall. We all identify somewhat with Eminem.
shut up.
Ooh,
Shut
Okay,
up.
this
Oh my
podcast
god.
went from 0 to 100 real.
Good.
That went from like 0 to
His
like
palms are sweaty,
1,000.
knees weak,
I'm
arms
like,
are heavy.
Oh,
Albums were pretty
okay.
good already. I don't know about the new ones.
Oh,
That's not
oh,
the hot
if you
coffee
think
pot.
that's
Yeah.
bad, we could just. Oh, if Black Letters if you
It's
think
an awfully
that's
hot
bad,
coffee
I
pot.
could just let Reactor ramble about a few certain topics for an hour and call it a day. I have
No,
zero
we
issues
should
with
keep
that,
the integrity of the
but it
dive.
might not be for the best interest of the dive itself.
It'd be the last podcast I think we'd do because Xi Jinping would call up YouTube and be like, "Yeah, no,
Yeah, when we're already going, when we're already.
don't beat."
And this reactor is why we save those for April
Yep.
Fools.
You know, Reactor, I might have to join you on that front. If that's what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, I'll put
'Cause I
it
have
this
my
way.
own
There's a
very
reason
trusted
I
opinion.
withhold
we've
a
already
lot
made-
of discussion of those sorts of things on the cast here. And honestly, just like within social media, like within the comforts of like Discord servers where you're talking with your friends and your peers and you have a fairly good sense of what people's opinions are, like it's fine to discuss stuff. But I think like I think a lot of people make the mistake of feeling like every trending topic or issue needs a comment on it on Twitter or Insta or on platforms.
Yeah.
And it's like you're just
Yeah.
asking for someone to just torpedo your career at that point, you know? Like, you are far safer and
But
far
I-
better
all that-
picking your battles and really commenting on things that
All
matter
that being
to
said-
you.
But I should.
All that
But
being
I should
said,
note-
my own personal sponsor, I don't have one, but I would personally like to sponsor the movement that Taiwan is a country.
Oh, totally. I got family from Taiwan.
Oh,
I
no.
validate that.
Hell yeah, bro.
It's, there has also been a podcast called fucking Kamina versus Winnie the Pooh to give you an idea, Black Letters, since you haven't seen the past ones.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
that was a bit we did.
okay.
Okay.
Our drill is the drill that will break your community-held honeypot. Oh no, I don't think you will. In my 100-acre woods. Oh bother! This
Oh,
works
God.
for the regime.
I don't want my family
Oh.
dynasty to be left in shambles.
Duck Dynasty.
The Duck Dynasty.
Yeah, we're here with Duck
This one's gonna
Dynasty.
be an
We're
on
here
and
to
off
stop.
bit for us.
in the capital of
We're
China,
here
in
to stop
Beijing.
commies, China, and also Winnie the
No,
Pooh.
no, no. It's not
We're
the
here to
it's
stop
the capital
commies,
of the
Chinese,
100-acre
and the
woods.
gays.
Come on, Black Letters.
What?
It's not the capital of China. It's the capital of the 100-acre woods. Come on.
Right. My bad.
Oh,
What the fuck? Creative Cloud, shut up. I don't care if I have 2 app updates.
this podcast, just this whole site is now never going over there.
I mean,
Good.
I'll be honest. I do think that when it comes to the content regulation, when it comes to some countries that do have like regulations on what they'll host there, when it comes to what Outlaw Dive is about and those sorts of projects, I feel like a lot of the stuff we create wouldn't go over there anyway. We've got a lot of stuff about ghosts, a lot of stuff about, you know, political discontent, crime,
Literally one of the
outlaws.
dive approved, Adrian, is working on Afterworld, which is literally the most bloody and gruesome thing outside of Berserk that I've ever seen.
And yet, like, they got a main character that's
Oh,
sweet
yeah,
as
that's fair.
bubblegum.
Yeah. I would love
And-
I would
and
very
then
much
there's also
love
the thing, if I
to
remember,
to
we had a
hold Kay and tell her everything's gonna be alright.
and then there was also like, I'll admit I haven't really read a lot of the things thrown around in the dive, but that's not on it. That's more on me. I just haven't been reading webcomics for a while, which I should get back to. It's kind of part of my job. But like one of the first things thrown in the dive was just this like kind of barbarian comic called Dragon Fister, and I fucking loved it.
I remember Dragon Fister. That was awesome. I love Dragon Fister. It's hilarious.
Oh, I goddamn wish we could make that a dive approved, but there's no way in hell right now.
All right. Well, I am most likely going to bounce from the podcast right now if you guys are going to keep going because I got some stuff
That's
I
fair,
got to
Yeah,
do.
I probably gotta go too because what is it? I gotta sleep schedule and all that. Make sure I'm not staying up too late.
Yeah, same.
That's
Yeah,
understandable.
and also
Clay.
I gotta stream Psychonauts too. Cause fuck yeah, baby! I can't wait to play that.
Oh shit, that's right. I just got that notification earlier
Yeah.
today that it came
I
out.
got it on Fig, so I was able. Actually, well, I think it's like it's 60, right? On
Yeah.
I got it for 40 because I get early access.
damn.
Yeah. Well, not early access. I got on Fig like a couple years back, and I got the key for it, and I just gotta like set that up. I'll set that up for tomorrow.
Damn, that's great. Fucking, I just started playing up fucking Psychonauts 1
Yeah.
again.
It's $1. It's like, guys, you gotta get it, please.
I had completely forgotten 2 was coming out so soon. I just fucking gotten into a lot of like videos on YouTube about it, and I was like, yeah, I feel like playing Psychonauts again. And now, oh hey, 2 came out in the middle of me replaying 1.
Yeah.
Well, ain't that dandy?
I am the milkman. My milk is delicious.
Milk is delicious.
Oh, God, fucking Milkman Conspiracy.
I actually haven't played Psychonauts.
Okay, I
I know
love
it mostly through memes.
Really? You haven't played? Dude, it's on Steam, and I think it's pretty cheap, I say, as I'm now going to actually go fucking check. But yeah, it's a fucking cult classic game for a reason. It's goddamn great. It's fucking PS2 game, mind you. So, I just mostly bring that up as I've been playing it. I've noticed I've been running into a little bit of jankiness with the controls. It might just be that it was being ported from PS2 to Steam.
That's fair. I think that, like, they had a lot of those issues with the ports of, like, the Dreamcast era stuff for Sonic Adventure and stuff like that, too. So I don't think that's irregular or particularly unusual.
Okay, so, at time of recording, it's 99 cents.
Yeah, I can probably go pick that up.
Yeah. Yeah, I should know by the time the podcast comes out, that's gonna be fucking done. So, don't... I just looked this up just for Reactor. But yeah, no, I find it to be very much a game worth picking up. Because I've run through it. Fucking amazing. And every time I, like, go in, like, a little YouTube rabbit hole about the game, I'm always learning more. Normally about the characters themselves. Because each level is also an analysis of the character itself. And I find that to be really fucking cool that they did that.
Well, for sure.
And you'll find most videos like these would be about specifically the Milkman Conspiracy, because that is just one of the most interesting and weird levels there is out of the whole bunch.
It is one of those things where it's just all about, like, the status of his own mental well-being and repressed stuff there. It's like his own conditioning.
Yeah. Because, like, you've seen things about that level,
yep.
right,
Oh,
man?
totally. That's the most of what I'm familiar with from the game.
Alright, so yeah, there's only one other level that has, like, wacky geometry about how the level's layout is like that. And that being, like, the second level you go into Sasha's shooting gallery, because that's just a cube. You just run around a cube like it's fucking Super Mario Galaxy. But for the Milkman Conspiracy, no, it is this weird, winding neighborhood that you just kind of bounce all over the fucking place.
For sure. I was gonna say, one of the things that, like, I thought would be a kind of a good wrap-up note as far as, like, the tone and the theme of this episode is gone, is just, like,
Alright, yeah.
as far as who this podcast is targeted towards and who our audience is, it is mainly people within the webcomic sphere who are already working on webcomic stuff. And I would like to put it out there, and I'd like to say that as distressing and frustrating as all the levels of, you know, new restrictions and stuff that come up with new waves of stuff with you-know-what, and the things that requires from us as a society and the toll that takes on businesses and jobs and stuff like that, I think one of the important things to remember is that webcomics are something that will continually have an audience, and that there is no time like the present to be using time to develop something or to push and promote something you've already got to an audience that's going to have a lot more time to look at it. And just cultivating that thing so that what you do becomes part of somebody's routine is really cool because it means that they will check and follow and read up on it and be an active follower of it, or that you can get yourself into that routine where you're cultivating that. So I just want to throw it out there that even with the negative stuff going on, there are potential ways to turn the negative into a positive there. And I hope y'all are doing well. I hope y'all are, feeling pretty good about where you're at creatively or about the projects that you're developing. Because honestly, there is no shortage of an audience for the kinds of stuff that the Dive promotes and encourages. Because I see so much in the way of, critique and frustration and mixed responses to what are effectively hybridized, corporatized attempts at the same sort of thing, because they wind up being the product of a bunch of different revisions and a group assessment and a panel review and a big company that's got vested interests in things performing a certain way to an audience. And the advantage that you've got as independent creators is that the only bottom line you need to be concerned about is your own. And you don't have shareholders. You don't have people you're beholden to. You don't have investors. And that means a more pure form of vision and a more cohesive storytelling style and character, creation format if you, allow yourself to develop and specialize into those things.
Drawback to that is you gotta yell at yourself to get the fuck up if you're not getting up
or
to work.
Or work with other people around you who are also creators and yell at each other to keep it up. That's been one of the best things for me. Me and my pal Alex, Corn Kid, who's working on the Glass Heart, we just constantly have these discussions where we bounce ideas for our series and what we're working on off of each other. And they always end with, wow, really cool. Now you need to go do that so I can read it. And then I'm like, yeah, same to you. You got to finish it so I can read that. And it's an amazingly motivating thing. Because even just...
That is just about how I ended up being Rust's editor, actually.
Yeah, that's exactly what I used to do when I talked with him, too. It was a whole thing where he'd be working on things, or he'd have concepts and ideas, and I'd talk to him and say, yeah, that's really cool. And what's awesome is that there are parts of those concepts for UIR that are being realized and actualized, years from now. And regardless of, how hard he is on himself, or, people's perception or what's being said in the midst of stuff with the Dive right now, I do absolutely feel like it's important to say and to restate that the fact that he's at this stage and doing this stuff and actually realizing and making things happen puts it so much farther ahead than the competition, quote unquote, and a lot of the peers in the field for him, because he's just actually gone and done it. And not to undermine all the stuff I was just saying, but the fact that he's out there and doing it and putting things out there means he's that many steps ahead of people who never did. And I also don't want to undermine the level of thought and preparation that went into it, because having collaborated with him and talked with him about all this stuff while he was developing it, there was certainly no end of planning and revisions and creative edits and rethinking that went on, even just in the time that I knew him when he was active on DeviantArt. So,
and there still isn't. The man... with what he had of season 2 of the comic, he went and is in the middle of redoing it now, because he took a look at it and was like, this was rushed and ill-paced, and I don't like it. So he's redoing 3 whole chapters.
And more power to him, because he's got the creative control to make that choice, which he might not if he was working with editors or a licensee, or licensor, that he would be working with in order to produce UIR under contract or under a deal with another production company. And while I know, there's a lot of appeals working with companies like Image where you retain rights and stuff, there are a whole bunch of, structural commitments to the production schedule that do come with taking those deals. And I think it's important for every creator to assess what their creative needs are and make decisions accordingly.
I know what you meant when you said it, but just the bit of not working with editors, or because like, Oh my god.
No, my point is that like a
yeah,
house style
no,
editor.
I completely get what you're saying. I'm just
Yeah,
making
of course.
a bit.
Like, I know that you're his editor. My point is that him having a house-style editor that tells him how his stuff has to read in order to fit in with the tone of a publisher is a very different thing.
No, he doesn't have someone from a company looking at him and go, "Nah, this does not fit with the brand that we're trying to put out." No, I'm there as his friend and his editor, as we make and enjoy incredibly similar content. But, yeah. Well, you got anything else then, man? Or, actually, it just occurred to me. I forgot to ask how your last 2 weeks was,
My
man.
last 2 weeks have been pretty productive and pretty eventful. I've been setting up a lot of class stuff for the fall here. So I'll be teaching with a couple of different institutions for visual arts and for other multidisciplinary arts things moving forward, as well as spending a bunch more of the time I'll have available in September and potentially October as well on production for Mechanomaki and some surrounding projects that I've got as well. So I've been laying a lot of the groundwork to get those things in motion during this time. I have an OCT that's going to be dropping on New Year's.
Oh yeah, the fucking
Excalibur experiment. Yeah, so that's the...
Damn it! I was trying to remember the name before you said it. Bastard.
So it's a pretty cool one. Once again, by the time this comes out, a lot of the judges will probably be confirmed and stuff for it, but we're at a really cool point with it, where it looks like we will have 6 judges from different backgrounds.
Yeah, just gonna note real quick. This is Reactor's personal thing.
Yeah,
all right.
For sure. Like, this isn't directly connected to Outlaw Dive, but I would actually encourage, for the following reasons, people who are active in that community or in webcomics in general to maybe look at whether they might want to participate, because the way we're structuring it and the way we're setting it up, we're setting up the entire basis for it to effectively be a signal boosting tool for creators to promote each other's work just within the way it's set up. So the way actual rounds and challenges and things will be structured both for competitors and for spectators and people just sort of involved in the periphery is in really like a positive, supportive kind of context where, yes, things are competitive, but like getting knocked out of a round doesn't mean you get nothing. You know what I mean? Like, with each round, there's visibility, there's connections, there's networking with other artists and creators and their writers and their circle of followers and stuff that'll be really cool. And I also think what'll be really exciting about it is the way that we've got it set up. The audition round isn't a comic. So we just want you to submit your bios, your character reference sheet, and effectively like almost a letter of intent kind of thing on what sort of stories and what sort of stuff you see yourself writing for part of it. And we will make picks based off of those. We're also going to be creating a list of backup entries from the people that apply and don't make it past the initial cut, so that if we find ourselves in a situation where there is an eliminated competitor or somebody who steps down for some reason, or like due to community events or something that comes up and there's like hostility or something completely unforeseen, God forbid, we don't intend for anything like that to happen, but in the event that it does, we are cultivating very early on a basis of like backup entry people there in order to have it set up that way. Got some really cool prizes that I'm really psyched about. Me and my collaborators talked a lot about like, okay, if we were to enter ourselves, what's something we would actually be excited about winning, and like what's a balance between that and what we can deliver, because I think that a challenge that a lot of OCTs have had is getting people on board just due to the fact that the prizes are based around what the officiants and people who volunteered prizes can provide rather than necessarily what the wider community wants to get. And I think that's important to remember with consideration to the fact that a lot of people that enter these tournaments have very similar skill sets. So anything that someone can provide for them as a prize within their own skill set kind of winds up being something where it's like, it's the novelty of having someone else do it, but it's not necessarily anything that a person would be incapable of doing on their own, especially if they're creating all this content to participate. So we got some fun things in the works for that, and I hope it'll be enjoyable and exciting for everybody to come be a part of it. So, looking forward to it.
So I just Yeah, I want to go back on that a bit. So, there's no audition comic, they just throw the character reference and you pick amongst them. Why
Because
that
round
way?
1 has 128 entrants.
Oh!
So, I figured an audition with a bigger number than that is probably not conducive to getting that many entries in. So, actually just letting people get their foot in the door and be like, hey, you want to participate? Hey, you want to get your name in there? And just actually participate, see how it goes, get it rolling, get the momentum in there. Because I find that the audition period tends to be kind of a momentum killer for a lot of people. That, like, there's people who have super strong ideas during the stage that they're doing the audition comics. While all those are being reviewed, like, sometimes stuff comes up, people lose motivation, stuff happens. I'd rather you just hit the ground running in round 1, like, that we've, like, we'll have the server up at the end of this month in August, and then from that point onward, there's 4 months between then and the thing actually starting on New Year's of 2022. And that gives us plenty of time to look at the field and the scope of people who want to be involved, for those people to assess their commitment and really decide how interested they are, if they're still interested, or if they just want to be on the backup list or something. And it really allows us to, as people working on it, give ourselves a bunch of time to get things prepped. Like, all the rounds are already planned. We've got a bunch of the assets already underway. And we are basically setting ourselves up so that by the time it's happening, all of the necessary materials and the officiating stuff is already in place, so that we just have to judge entries once we get them and have the freedom to create a bunch of content and to promote people and do some fun collabs and stuff like that like really encourages the sense of community there once we've got the ball rolling. So I'm excited about it. I hope that people will be equally excited about it. I know I've got some really supportive messages so far, but I'd love to keep that momentum going, and I'd love to see what all of you have to offer, because I know there are just such immense levels of talent and creativity within just even the sphere of the Outlaw dive, but bringing even more people in beyond that, like internationally, from different areas of the world, from different sort of genre viewpoints and stuff. One of the things that's also going to be unique about this OCT is non-combat round resolutions. So we are opening it up for some of the rounds for people to be cunning or to be clever or to be emotional or witty in whatever way that allows their character to overcome the challenge presented in a way that may not really be in conflict, like in the fighting sense, to the other entrant's character that they're matched up against in the bracket. And I think that that's fun. I think it gives ways for like characters to have dynamics and interplay that are a lot less intense and, limited in the way that they can unfold, because you allow people to be like, well, maybe they're rivals, maybe they're friends, maybe they're, begrudging allies in the context of this particular challenge, and only one can cross the line at the end, or, one crosses the line first, but maybe there's more of a cooperation than a conflict between them, and I think that's fun. I think that is a really good tone to set, because it allows for there to be a more interesting variety of entries, particularly with the number of entrants, so that things stay fun and people, have an interesting round to write, where it doesn't feel like everything's already been done, or, they're being overshadowed by somebody who did something similar. Just let people write characters and let them shine in ways that they can really excel at. Like, make a character you're excited about. Write them doing things that would excite you to see them in those scenarios. That's what I think is fun about an OCT.
Alright. Well, damn.
So that's the elevator pitch and a half for that.
Yeah, and Jesus, that's like from ground floor to 83, man. God damn.
This is the front loading I was talking about, ladies and gentlemen.
That's fair.
Ladies and gentlemen and non-binary peoples and those of no gender at all, I am trying to be as inclusive as possible, still learning on that.
It's a learning process for a lot of people still. Well, I'll admit, I haven't really done much with my past 2 weeks as far as things I can throw out to people, as I've just been slowly grinding away at some works. Still working on one thing for the dive, which I do need to talk to you about that later,
For sure.
actually. And yeah, grinding at my own projects, which, now that I think about it, gotta talk to you about that other thing, too.
Yeah, sensing a pattern here, but that's okay.
Listen, man. There's only one other friend I have who's really big into mecha, and out of the two of them, you're the better writer. It's not Rust, by the way. I'm not throwing him under the bus. I'm throwing someone else under the bus.
Me with my fucking graphs and charts explaining plot points and which series was inspired by which series and how their origins and roots trace back to different ancient civilizations.
Yes, and then there's me with the secondhand notes, who I then go to my other friend and be like, so yeah, here's some neat things, and he's just sitting there like, huh, that's cool. Because apparently, like, I went to him and fucking told him, like, yeah, so apparently Getter Robo was, like, the first combining a robot, and he was like, really, that was the first? I thought there would have been something before. That's like, no, it was Getter Robo.
One of the pioneering ones, for sure, anyway. Like, you see a lot more of them emerge during the 70s era, both around and following Getter. But prior to that, you see a lot more stuff like Mazinger Z's Scrander system and, like, support machines that occupy that kind of context. And even in the 80s, like, a lot of stuff, like the first Mobile Suit Gundam had stuff like the G-Fighter and effectively like a team of support units, but it's when the late 80s and 90s rolls around and you get a lot of stuff. You get Brave, you get Calm Battler V,
you get Voltron, or I believe it's Go Lion.
Yeah, Go Lion was the original, Voltus V. Called. There's a lot of really exciting and great series that are out there for combining
Super
mecha
Sentai
that emerged during the 70s. Getter just happens to be the one that like had the most prominence within the public eye due to Ishikawa's association with Nagai.
Well, that's true, but I was also thinking of, like, Getter also, like, came before, because Getter was mid-70s.
I'll actually just check my facts on this. So, like, combining mecha first.
So, like, yeah, as far as I'm aware, Getter is, like, the oldest one where it's, like, you have a pilot in each machine, and they combine. Which, it may be cutting hairs a bit, because there is Mazinger Z, which has the Scrander and the actual Mazinger, but that is a little plane helicopter thing landing on a mech to then pilot it. That's not another guy in the mech itself waiting for the Scrander to land, and then they go fuck up a Robeast. I just used a completely different term for that show's monsters.
I was gonna say, yeah, like Dr. Hell's got his mechanical beasts, and then Robeasts were Voltron. And then you've got all the way over in Galgaigar, you got the Zonders, you've got the Saiyajins in Dagwan. I always kind of like Monster of the Week things within Mecha, because at least like they kind of justify like the introduction of, in Brave series especially, the different mecha and their like accessories and stuff, which absolutely are there to merchandise, but I've never begrudged them that, because they're always fun.
They're also really cool. Yeah. They're to merchandise, and goddamn, they do it really well. 'Cause, I fucking want a model of fucking Choryujin, and it being able to split apart into the two little robots.
The only Choryu we've got that can do that, I believe, is the original, because there are Chogokin of, if I remember correctly, there's a Chogokin of Choryujin, and there are Chogokin of Hyoryu and Anryu, but I don't believe we have a combining modern version of both. Although, don't quote me on that. It's been a while, and I have some friends who are much more knowledgeable on the merchandising of that end of stuff. I'm more into the fiction of it.
It's an old show, so I understand, but I still find that disappointing.
So, to sort of check the point that I made earlier, the first prominent Series Central combining robots were Getarobo and potentially Zambot. Zambot was one of the ones that was up there too. But in terms of the one that originated the concept, one of the points that I've seen brought up in just like an archive that I went and looked back over here is there is a Monster of the Week enemy from Tetsuan Atom, known better here as Astro Boy, that's sort of like a centipede robot monster that's sort of a combining robot called Gadem.
Huh. Okay. Okay. That's...
Shout
That's
out to my
interesting.
friend Valo, the expert on Astro Boy stuff. I probably could have found this out in a couple seconds if I'd just asked him, but the man knows his Tetsuan Atom Astro Boy stuff and Mega Man.
To be fair, we didn't know that it was a thing in Astro Boy. The oldest example we had was
70s, yeah.
Getter.
It was most prominent in the 70s, though, so I will stand by that. I do think that my facts were pretty good on that there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna question you on that one.
I do love the way Transformers handled combining machines, though. Like, I think that's one of my favorite series in terms of, like, the actual architecture and the world building for how those things function, like, on a broader scale. Because, like, in a lot of series, like, the combining robot exists as a central figure, and it's purpose-built for, like, fighting aliens and stuff. Or, like, a hostile power, a different human organization. But with Transformers, what's kind of neat is because the robots are all effectively sentient, is that it's the basis of, like, a crazy military super soldier project where it's like, what if we made an even bigger soldier by putting a bunch of our other soldiers into one dude?
Now I'm just gonna throw my hat in the ring on that one right now. Of the best example I've seen this from Transformers would be, I believe it's Armada, the one that really had mini-cons as like a main gimmick of the show.
I think that it's interesting that like they figured out a way to make them their own sort of separate civilization and stuff. In the execution, I think that like it was polarizing. Some people called them Pokeformers. That was like, you know, just like Pokemon, that people thought that like the collection aspect was a little tiresome, but
in retrospect, I can understand that, but there were like a number of episodes that didn't focus on getting mini-cons at all. Like I remember there was one where it was just kind of like a slice life thing of like, hey, here's what the Decepticons do on the moon when they're bored, and here's what the Autobots do on Earth when they're bored.
Yeah, like there's a lot of like precedent-setting things in Armada, which are very interesting because it's one of the first series after Robots in Disguise 2001 that was adapted from the original series and sort of tone of Transformers. That's a whole thing, but essentially it was one of the first localized series that originated as a Japanese production rather than an American-written production that was a localization of Japanese toy lines. And while that seems like it's not much of a distinction, it kind of is for a couple of reasons. Because between Robots in Disguise 2001 and Cybertron, there's a lot of anime sensibilities that made their way into Transformers stuff and kind of have stuck around. Some of them for the better, some of them, you know, to the detriment of some things. But I'd say that, like, the high points for Transformers in recent years were Cybertron, Prime, and Animated. Like, those are ones that really were highlights for me. I don't dislike any of the other
Prime
entries
really
besides maybe Rid 2015, which does some things that are fun, but I absolutely wasn't the target audience for it, and I think even the target audience may not have resonated as much with it. But more power to them. I'm not Hasbro. They can do whatever they want with their billions of dollars, so.
I think the... I just realized there was a huge gap in like, when I saw because, like, last show I saw was fucking, God, stuttering, you bitch, was Animated, and then years gap, and then Prime.
Yeah, Prime is a really solid show, but it's actually, like, that was the gap. Between Animated and Prime, there were no shows.
Oh, okay, alright, damn, okay.
Which, yes, long time.
Oh, that's right, Prime was before 2015. Okay, I just haven't seen anything after Prime,
Yeah.
then. Alright, that's where I got
Yeah,
mixed
so there are
up.
no shows between animated and Prime, and after Prime, by about a 2 to 3 year gap, we got Rid 2015, which was a thing. I shit on it a bit, but I shouldn't, because there's a lot of good merit that went into it. There's some great writers and some really great artists and talents that invested their time in it, and I don't mean to belittle that. Having met a few of them personally. Margaret Scott, in particular, is a really brilliant writer, and she wrote the Windblade and Till All Are One series for the actual Transformers comics. Very, very talented individual, and very kind and very forthcoming with information and her thought process on stuff when I actually met her. And nothing but the utmost respect there. I think the big thing for me was that the visuals put me off. I didn't gravitate towards the style of hyper simplified, and, you know, like the vehicle mode's really simple, the robot mode's really simple, didn't do much for me. In contrast to animated, which did that same hyper simplification, but like absolutely utilized it to its utmost potential to make things kinetic and make characters expressive and really crazy. And, like, I would say animated Grimlock, just proportions-wise, is one of the most fun iterations of that character that we've gotten. Because he's got, like, this steam shovel-looking jaw on him. Like, he's...
Oh, yeah! No, that Grimlock was, Real quick, though, it was fucking Transformers Rise? Is that... Or what was the thing? Because I'm trying to look up, fucking images of that thing now, just so I could get an idea of...
Prime? Or...
What you mean for its art style.
Prime or Rid. Rid is the
2015.
Yeah, Rid.
Rid. Okay, I kept hearing. All right, yeah, I could.
There's actually two Rids. There's
I
Rid
immediately
2001 and Rid 2015. And if you have to pick one, watch the 2001 version. It's fucking bonkers. There is a flying shark who speaks in haiku.
I am seeing what you mean. Wow, this looks a lot like animated, but different.
Yeah, that's the problem, is they transitioned to 3D, so they're limited to the 3D models in terms of what they could do with expressions, which with Prime, where everything was very gritty and kind of subdued, I think worked okay for them. But I don't think it panned out as well on Rid 2015. I think if they were going to go that route, they should have gotten back in touch with Man in Action, or whatever the studio was, Derek J. Wyatt's studio, and character designers for Transformers Animated, and brought him back on it. Like, they're such a talented group of dudes, and, you know, was never a Ben 10 guy, but they worked on that too. And they're just a really solid bunch of people. Like, Derek still engages with the community online through Twitter a lot, and does all sorts of really fun arts, and talks about his thought process on things, and he's just a big fan of the stuff. Like, it really shows in the execution of how animated turned out. Like, just if you look at the crowd filler scenes, dude put characters in there that are from shows that were never localized and never released, like, in America, let alone anywhere else outside of Japan. You know, like, they were really obscure. Like, the stories were told in TV Guide magazines for, like, a toy line that ran in specific outlet shops and things like that. But the dude knows them, and he knows that we know him, so he threw those characters in there. So all of us who spent our childhoods being hyperfixated on every Transformer ever released are like, yo, I know that one!
I might have to go back and give that one a watch then.
Yeah, like, animated is such a treat. It's a good show.
Don Helm that I kind of barely remembered, even though I watched it.
It was
as
actually
aired.
based heavily on Imaishi's style. Like, if you look at the way it's animated, there's a robot that's literally Logon. His name is Dirt Boss.
Oh my god, I
His
see
name
it
is
now!
Dirt Boss, and he's literally just a forklift with, like, a Logon face, so that his robot mode is just stubby arms and legs off of a forklift that forms the head.
I remember those Constructicons.
And that's the thing, is we got cheated because we never got a season 4. We were going to get the other 4 of them, because Dirt Boss was going to be a 7th and form the head, but we got Scrapper and we got Mixmaster, but we never got Bone Crusher, Hook, Long Haul. I almost said Wide Load, but that's a different dump truck transformer. And we didn't get Yeah, we didn't get Long Haul. We got Scrapper and Mixed Match. We didn't get Long Haul. We didn't get Hook. We didn't get Bone Crusher, and we didn't get Hightower's from the other Devastator. I'm making myself look like a fake fan. The Other Arm. The Other Arm was.
Oh no! How could you on this podcast about webcomics when we've taken like a half-hour tangent for Mecha and Transformers? Cause it's just the two Mecha nerds.
Yeah, let me
now.
just. I'm gonna pull up an image and then I'm gonna feel dumb. Oh yeah, Scavenger. Why did I forget him? He's my favorite. Scavenger is the bucket excavator. So yeah, we didn't get Scavenger. We didn't get Bone Crusher. We didn't get Long Haul, and we didn't get Hook. But we did get Dirt Boss, who would have formed the head instead of the head being an accessory attachment that you put on it when it combined, which is kind of cool.
God, that reminds me. I had like a series of fucking Constructicons that were meant to combine into a thing. It was like a big box set of 4 of them. I think I still have them too. Never actually figured out how to make them form into the one big guy.
Yeah, like that's the thing about the combiner sets too, right? Is that they are a really fun like gameplay aspect of how the things are built. But even more so, like the thing that's cool about them is the fact that story-wise, you get a character that's this big recognizable figure with all of these other smaller characters that comprise that character's personality. So it's like, oh yeah, if you look at the combined form, this element of the way they behave and the way that they talk and the way that they move comes from this character that forms a part of the comprised whole.
Huh. That's pretty neat. Though it always did like throw me off because when I got that set, I never actually saw any of those Transformers at all in the show, so I just had these 4, and I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to see them, and they turned into the big guy, and then I never saw it. Probably because I just never caught it when the show was airing, because I don't even remember fucking around what time or what show would have been running when that would have been a thing.
Yeah, if it's a thing of 4 combining like, construction vehicles, I'm pretty sure that's Landfill, and I'm pretty sure that's Rig 2001.
Probably. I don't remember. It's been looking at the date to give myself 20 years ago. Then, goddamn, I had to look at a fucking clock.
That set did get some re-releases too. So if the dates don't totally add up, it's possible that there was a reissue of it that you got there as well.
Oh no, I was a fucking little kid when I got it. This was like a few years after like I had last seen Armada on air. Like maybe 1 year after the fucking Unicron thing happened in Armada.
Yeah, so that tracks.
Well, if there's nothing else for you all to take away from that, hey, mecha stuff could do pretty good on the dive as, well, not many other places really throw mecha comics out that much, and there's not a lot of them in the first place.
Yeah, I'll say this much as one of, like, the few mecha comic creators I know besides, like, Carl Toons and, a few of the people within the dive.
And me.
You know, like, and yeah, obviously you, but like, outside of the two of us talking here, who are clearly big on it, like,
yeah, it's like a handful of people that we both know make mecha comics. It's like an incredibly niche thing within the webcomic sphere, which, that in itself is already like a niche medium. So we're just like a tiny micro group.
Yeah, in a big way. And that's the thing, is like, mecha, like, there's always, allow me to just voice very quickly a gripe that I have with AniTubers and YouTube anime review stuff, because I refrained from saying this earlier when the topic of like anime reaction videos and stuff came up. But a big thing for me is that I really resent the way anime commentary communities sort of like use mecha as like this punching bag to, talk about dying genres and stuff like that. Because it's...
I fucking hate
it's
that too.
not just like frustrating at the disrespect it shows to ongoing series and like long running series that have a dedicated fan base, because like you look at stuff like Gundam, you look at series like the various iterations of the Brave franchise that get reissued merchandise or re-releases or Blu-rays or sub-series or Super Robot Wars appearances, Super Robot Wars itself as like a thing for mecha.
Yeah, and like a fucking just like another thing, Get a Robo didn't have anything coming out for like a good decade, and now we have art airing.
And I will say, the thing to me that really stands out when I hear people comment on like, oh yeah, mecha's a dead genre, it's like, okay, well then tournament shonen is a dead genre. Then, certain types of shoujo are a dead genre. Like, just because slice of life has come up and occupied part of the demographic for those things, or kind of merged with elements of that, doesn't mean that suddenly it doesn't exist anymore. Just because of the fact that tournament shonen has merged into, like, hero shonen, or, like, sort of an ongoing format shonen, like what we see with Hero Aka and, Black Clover and stuff like that. Just because those things are prominent doesn't take anything away from works that continue to use a format that might not be in vogue right now. Because something not being in vogue doesn't mean that it doesn't have its momentum that it's built up or its existing audience. And it doesn't mean that there aren't new things trying to break in there and to shake up the industry and do something different and try something fun. Because, like, there was a recent, in the last couple of years, there was a mecha anime called Knights and Magic that was widely maligned just for not being particularly, like, well written as a show itself. Like, the plot itself wasn't very tight. But my response to that critique leveled at it would be that while it absolutely wasn't anything to write home about when it came to the story, what made it fun was it really was a love letter to people who really like mecha design and really enjoy like the ins and outs of what goes into, creating and designing and iterating upon a mecha design. And so the show was fun because where it really picked up and where some fun stuff started happening is where our protagonist, who's this dude who gets isekai'd into a different world as a lil Shota boy making a bunch of mecha for himself and becoming a wizard that drives mecha, is when there's another country that steals his designs and has its own inventor who's like, yo, I can work with this. And then he reverse engineers stuff and builds his own things. And there's like a level of conflict between people with very differing design aesthetics. And they never directly encounter each other and meet. But like the first time the main character sees, other inventor dude stuff on the battlefield, he's like, I absolutely reject the concept of what you represent. Because the dude's like, he's talking about like, oh yeah, we're going to use this technology to build air forces and airships and, ground artillery and, infantry in the way that like tanks and stuff were mechanized infantry. And because the dude's aesthetics do not include tanks and planes, he's like, I will destroy everything you are. And it's so satisfying because it's so dumb, but it's like the show doubles down on what it's about and the ethos of what they're trying to convey. And that's fun. I like that. And props to them for sticking to their guns on that show, whether it was in vogue or popular or not.
There is also like a thing with mecha in general of it is a weird genre in that you don't have to have the show center around it for it to be a mecha.
Well, therein is another critique that a lot of anti-tubers raise too, where it's like, the best mecha shows are the ones that are not about the mecha, and it's like, okay.
No, that's not right at all. Those are different kinds of mecha shows.
Well, it's not even that. Like, even Code Geass, which is like an example that gets brought up all the time, where it's like, the intrigue of the show comes from things that are not based around the mecha. It's like, but the mecha are a big part of it. The facilitating device that allows those plot points to unfold. Like, there are very few plot moments.
The nightmares are the
Geass.
main vehicle of the fighting.
Yeah, and like the fact that the thing that facilitates those crazy plot points and character arcs and this stuff is battles that take place with mecha. Like, point to almost any iconic scene out of Code Geass, gonna bet you there's a mecha in there somewhere.
Yeah, like, we could not have the Flaya spamming scene in Season 2 if we didn't have, like, the swarms of the giant robot armies actually fighting each other to help, like, bring it into an aerial thing so no one really had to worry about spamming nukes. Because that's what those were.
We would not have gotten the amazing Jeremiah Gottwald's character arcs if every point in his arc was not somehow connected to the mech he was piloting or getting his ass handed to him by at that moment.
Oh, Jeremiah!
Jeremiah is the highlight of that show for
Oh,
me.
God, I love Orange Boy. Oh, that fucking show was amazing. But, yeah, while you can technically remove the mechs from Code Geass, and it can still work in a way if you put in an adequate replacement, it was made as a mecha, like, as part of, like, the ethos, because small chance some people might not know it, Sunrise made that show. The people that made Gundam were responsible
Something
for
else
it.
I can tell you about
You might
that
be asking
too.
me a bit why, and that's because character designs
Yep.
are by Clamp.
And something else I can tell you about that too is the fact that there actually was an attempt to do Code Geass without mecha, and that is the manga of the series. And it is surreal. Like, it doesn't actually translate as well, because all of the plot points occur without mecha as part of them. So what that results in is you get the acts of terrorism being like, Lelouch vandalizes the Britannic Academy with spray paint and like stuff like that, and Suzaku shows up in like a helicopter. All that, like, he doesn't have the Lancelot, so he shows up in a helicopter. So he still spins Zaku, but it's pretty fucking lame.
Oh, of course it's a helicopter, because it has to spin to keep flying.
Yeah, like, the thing is funny because people make that point all the time. They're like, oh yeah, Code Geass is proof that you can do a good mecha show with no mecha, and my response to that would be, go look at Code Geass without mecha and see how you feel about that, then come talk to me again.
Yeah, and then, like, there's a number of things that absolutely need
Oh,
it.
absolutely.
These generally being super robot shows. Like, the more real-style military things, you can get away with that.
I don't know, 8th Mobile Suit Team?
Boy.
Gundam 8th Mobile Suit Team? I don't think it would have worked without the Gundam. I don't think it would have worked without the Easy 8.
I have not seen that one, cannot say. But there are some other more like real robot ones I've seen, like I can't remember the name of it. Damn it. It was fucking one where they had to fight a bunch of giant bugs. It wasn't Blue Gender.
Oh,
It was a different thing where they had like fucking samurai robots.
Kuro Makuro?
And they played like
Kuro Makuro?
What?
Or like... There's a lot. Like, I wish that narrowed it down more, but it doesn't.
Oh god, you're right, yeah. Fucking samurai mechs and giant bugs. Of course that's not gonna narrow it down. God damn it.
Dunbine?
But
Like, Aura Battler Dunbine? Like, that's bug mechs versus bug mechs, but some of them are more samurai looking.
it wasn't bug. Anyway, it's fucking horrible example aside. There are some shows where like you can make the argument of where you can remove it and all, but most of the time when you make a thing, a mecha, it's baked in for a reason. And sometimes that reason is as simple as giant robot, cool, make a brain go brr.
Yeah, it's like, same reason people make military movies, reason people make fantasy or, you know, horror or other genre things. Sometimes you just want a big monster, or you want, like, elves, or you want, you know, like, and more power to you. You put the thing that you want in the thing that makes you want to keep writing it.
Yeah, God, that reminds me. I have... It may just be me, but I strangely have not seen another niche thing, but I really like things that have giant bugs in them. I haven't seen a lot of that stuff.
I mean, lots of kaiju kind of things, but like that's
Yeah. But I just mean more like shit that's like a 10-foot tall fucking bumblebee run away. Which, it's my sounds fucking stupid, but it's kind of like you think of like a 50s B movie where it's like, attack of a giant praying mantis.
yeah, that sort of thing. Honestly, you get a little bit of that in variety mecha shows with Monster of the Week kind of things. Like Brave has a lot of them,
Yeah.
but I couldn't point to any specific one
Huh.
in specific because they tend to be Monster of the Week and episodic.
Yeah.
But,
Like, there's only one I can think of that I know does that I can name, being fucking Blue Gender, because that's the whole point of it.
Yep.
But, it's just like a weird niche thing that I strangely haven't seen much done with, despite the fact of that seems like there'd be at least like one guy making something like that every year. At least one guy.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's like the challenge of it is that like once you establish that, you got to stick to it, and it's like for some people that might be a bit restrictive, like to limit the enemy type to just the one thing. Like even Gundam has some variety, and like sometimes episodic enemies are just like people that are ground terrorists and stuff like that, and it's a not to undermine what I said before, but it's a mecha episode with less focus on the mecha. But I think that's good for variety.
And
if you have a show where everything can just be universally solved by, activate the mecha, stomp on things, then that reduces the sophistication that you're applying to that concept.
Yeah. Sometimes you can't solve it by throwing Shinji in the robot.
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes you just gotta let Captain Bright walk up and slap a kid, slap a child. That sounds so terrible, but goddamn, did that happen a lot in fucking early Gundam? Of just teenagers getting slapped.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, I think that's as much as I have to weigh in on here. Like, I don't want to run too long with this stuff.
Yeah, at least for right now. We could go into mecha talk again later. We've been running for a good fucking how long is it? Almost 2:15. All right. Yeah, that's good. Well, thanks for showing up, everyone. If you made it this far, wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is something else.
So anyway, thank you all very much for being a part of it. If you stuck around for Mecha Talk, feel free to engage with us with that in the actual Outlaw Dive server. I would be more than happy to.
Oh yeah, no, we are huge mecha nerds. We could go on about it for many more hours, but we both have shit that we do
for
gotta
sure.
get to. So, yeah, see you later, everyone. Thanks for stopping by and all that.